Create a life of entrepreneurial freedom with insights from successful creatives, entrepreneurs, and investors. Discover how they overcame challenges and turned their biggest dreams into reality. They share their personal success playbook so you can build the business and life you truly want. Welcome to Passion Millionaire, the podcast by Robert Roth. Rock and roll your dreams.
Welcome to today's episode of the Passion Millionaire Podcast. Again, super excited. Today we have somebody on who is a total expert when it comes to e-commerce. Super cool guy, super easy to talk to. He's going to have a ton of stories. And first of all, he has a ton of results to show. Like he has $100 million of sales that he helped to create in the e-commerce space. He has even those awards that he could get from ClickFunnels, and not just one of those, but plenty. I see them in the back on his walls. A total of $47 million worth of those ClickFunnels awards. And he has helped e-com brands also to scale from 0 all the way up to 8 figures straight, pretty much. And he has a ton of experience, which makes him naturally the head of growth or the director of growth, which he just joined a new company, taking this position again, helping them grow to the next level. So all he does basically is e-commerce, direct to consumer, physical products, and he utilizes like customer experience aspects to maximize growth like no one else. So therefore, I'm excited to introduce Paul Leeds. Welcome to the podcast. Just feel free to introduce yourself. Who are you? How did you get to where you are today?
Thanks so much, Robert. Yeah, hearing those results back, it still doesn't really feel real, and I appreciate your enthusiasm for it. So yeah, how I even got here, like I started super broke, did not go to college for marketing. I actually met a friend who he became the best man of my wedding. I was the best man of his wedding. He was not from the United States. He came all the way from Ireland to a meditation camp inside of New York City, 5 hours away from where I lived. I just met him for like 5 minutes. My friend Michael and I were like, "Hey, dude, where are you staying after this?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm staying in this little village down south in New Jersey." And he's like, "Dude, we live right next to that. You want to hang out?" We become best friends that summer. We do a road trip all the way back together. And then he mentors me in copy, which was crazy because he got me out of having to work in Red Lobster. I was the number one in sales for Red Lobster too. So I have a very good track record of sales.
Wow. Love it.
But that said, he taught me all I needed to know about that. And then I went on this long journey of trying to make, copywriting work. Eventually I got started working with this brand called Agora Financial, who is an e-commerce brand. They sell more info products, which is, further in my past, almost a decade ago. I got started with them, and I ended up working with this guy, Osvaldo Albuquerque. He had sold $170 million in financial newsletters in about 3 years, which is the most the company had ever done. He is the head $1 billion guy behind the company. Said he's the number one person they'd ever had. And somehow I got lucky enough to work directly with him. So I got to work with like A-list celebrities inside of finance, like Robert Kiyosaki, the guy Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I got to work directly with him and these guys like, Jim Rickards, who were like 4-time New York Times bestselling authors and also ex-CIA agents. It was like such a weird, and they would like pay for everything I needed, like all of my housing, even my toilet paper, and they were paying for it. And they'd bring a woman to clean the house and everything, treated me like a prince. But I didn't really like the newsletter aspect because people weren't really getting the results, and that was the first time I'd really experienced that, there's actually people out there that, don't really care if the customer gets results. So I left that in pursuit of e-commerce. I ended up going into affiliate marketing. Found it was kind of the same thing. And I did some really great numbers with some amazing businesses, but a majority of the affiliate world was really focused on selling customers products with that. Like, I'm sure you've seen these before. It's like, take this pill with like turmeric in it and you're going to lose 40 pounds overnight. You've seen these, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Insane, right? So I became very upset with this, eventually left that industry as well. Instead, I'd been doing things like get out of back pain in 30 days, and a real course behind that actually helped people
Mhm.
And the things that we had set up got hundreds of reviews from people like going like, oh, wow, I couldn't bicycle, I couldn't run, I couldn't play tennis anymore. I had been a triathlete my entire life, and then I got back pain out of nowhere.
Mhm.
But this course solved it for me. And that was the first time I was inspired. I'm like, oh, I can have a big impact on people if
Mhm.
I make the marketing align with what the customer expects to get.
Mhm.
Make sure that they are fulfilled and also have influence on what the product actually does and how we're communicating with them on the back end. Because,
Mhm.
if you can make a conversion, but they return that product, doesn't matter how many conversions you make, you're
Yep.
just not going to survive.
Mhm.
Anyway, point is, I ended up leaving all of that behind because, again, the affiliate world I didn't really like. And I ended
Mhm.
up going into direct consumer for the first time about, I think it's almost 5 years now. So
Mhm.
I got started with this one company who they had a bunch of little companies over in the EU, but they wanted to come to the United States, and they had $0 in spend. So I was person
Mhm.
number 5 there. I helped them go from $0 to 8 figures, $25 million in about 2 years. And
Wow.
yeah, I was doing I went from kind of like a conversion rate optimizer to their head of growth during that time, or head of marketing technically. But yeah, it was a really big journey from going to being almost destitute, not really having money, not having a father growing up. He'd passed away when I was young.
Mhm.
A mother who was disabled, living out of my car basically at certain points. I actually did. And then, helping companies grow to 8 figures. So it's been a pretty wild journey. So
It definitely
thank you for the
sounds
time.
like one.
Yeah.
Wow, what is going on? So I like that you have like a background of things that you've done all the way to ending up being in e-commerce and then in this very specific niche, because I'm sure you can draw learnings from even the affiliate stuff or whatever you have done
Yes.
into your today's work, and now you're fully specialized in direct to consumer, basically selling products that really are
Yeah.
quality products that are solving a problem and they're proven to solve a problem. I can imagine that helps also to actually sell those things, because you
It
might get
does.
a ton of good reviews, hopefully as well, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to understand, when you've helped this company to grow from 0 to 8 figures in 2 years. Like I believe that's a really crazy fast journey to make that
Yeah.
happen. Like, how did that look like? I mean, what were the problems that you need to
Mm.
tackle when you were at 0, right? And then when did you hit a ceiling where you maybe needed to change things in order to get to the
Mhm.
next level, if that existed along this
Yes.
journey? Maybe, yeah, let us know how that worked.
Yes. Thank you for asking. The first problem, as everybody knows in marketing, and a lot of people who start a business know, is product market fit. If you have
Mhm.
a bad product but it fits a market concern, you could sell the crap out of it all you want. But if you have a great product and you also have a great market that is sizable, you're able to scale really hard, right? And as well, I'm sure you've heard, in finance, they call like a blue ocean and a red ocean, right? Or a pink
Yeah.
ocean, meaning it's like how many people are out there selling this thing. Well,
Mhm.
I would like to say that we actually got lucky. We had all this table stakes of really great members. There was like 5 of us in the team, myself included. Every single person working as hard as they damn can. We tried off of 3 products, and the 3rd product we found out just had an amazing product market fit. There are very few people selling this exact solution. It is a microcurrent device, which helps with, lifting your skin and also creating more collagen. A lot of studies and backing behind it, even so much as red light therapy backed by NASA. This is also backed by NASA as well. So it's
What? Okay.
not a lot of people know about it though, because it's usually used in estheticians, right? Anyhow,
Huh?
that helped a lot because there was almost nobody selling in the market on this. So it was almost a blue ocean. However, there was also another 8 figure brand that was selling $150 million. So we were like, okay, well, clearly there's demand behind this. Turned
Mhm.
out it was true. We used the right marketing, right positioning, so that we were slightly different than them, and we are still able to make a really big influence on people's lives. Um,
Mhm.
that worked for the first 3 months. We tried 3 products. We eventually found that fit, and then it just started scaling like crazy. It's just one of those things where uh, we had all
So
of the
wait,
right
let me
advertising
stop
and
you there
marketing. Oh
for
yeah,
a second.
sorry.
So you said you've tried a couple different products. Like to me, it
Yeah.
sounded the product was already existing in the beginning, but you didn't have a product when you started out at all, or you had one and you tried that and you figured somehow it doesn't fit. Huh?
He had like 3 products
Okay.
basically in queue that he wanted to sell. And we just wouldn't know which one would do well in advertising. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Right. So a lot of brands will start with a product. And nowadays, if you're doing any amount of direct response advertising, they say be on TikTok. I have a whole the 55-point checklist I give out to free to people if they're doing go to market strategy. And part of it is can you actually demonstrate the results to people? And at the time, that wasn't really a big concern for a lot of brands. But nowadays, you can see if you can really demonstrate the results directly on the ad, well, then you're very likely to actually sell that product. Whereas the first 2 didn't realize it at the time. The third one really did demonstrate results. So that was a big unlock there.
Interesting. So that's exactly what you did. You went on TikTok and then presented it to the audience there, and therefore saw where was the best feedback. You picked that product and then basically blew up the ads on other channels.
Almost, yeah. So TikTok wasn't as big at the time. We did it off of Meta, but basically the exact same theory. Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah.
interesting. So and then you said you did that for the first 3 months. You figured out which product, and how far did that get you in revenue also? And then what was the next steps that you did?
Yeah, it was actually insane because the first 2 products, they got like some pretty decent ROAS or, return on ad spend, where we were getting, like a 1.5, but this third product ended up hitting where we're getting 3s and 4s and 5s off of all of the advertising spend we're doing. So the scale of this thing just went insane. And as I mentioned, to you, the guy had already had business in the EU. He just completely shut down his business and pulled
Mhm.
all that spend over. So again, I got a little lucky in the sense that this guy already had it, hundreds of thousands to push into this, and that just massively scaled it up to about $1 million. Within, I think, about the first 6 months, we were hitting about $1 million in total revenue, and at that point, we were able to hire on more people, and that was a huge unlock there.
Oh wow, nice. So 6 months to get there. And what
Mhm.
was the profit margin roughly?
Oh, yeah, it was insane. As far as the profit, like total EBITDA, I don't
Hmm.
recall exactly, but the contribution margin, after ad spend was close to 80%. So,
Nice.
ad spend was and ad spend and COGS combined was only like
Yep.
20. It was really insane.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Not bad.
Yeah.
So basically cost for the product and then the ads
Yeah, and I'll tell
about
you some
20%.
some things that are I would consider like trade secrets
Hmm.
to direct response that, as you mentioned, like when I previously worked at these other companies, I learned some really hard tactics on getting more AOV and more conversion rate that not a lot of DTC brands use, and we launched with those specifically because of how I had set it up. Because a lot of people, they know make good creative and have a website, but what they don't have are things like advertorials that increase conversion rate, as well as upsells and downsells with really long copy, right? That sell more product and increase that AOV. That was the biggest unlock that allowed us to get that 3 and 4 ROAS.
Interesting. So how did it look like in real life for this product?
What do you mean by that?
Just exactly what you explained, those upsales
Oh,
and then the long
yeah,
copy, like what were the other products? What was the first product exactly? So
yeah,
we can kind of understand the whole
yeah.
picture.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I was a conversion rate optimizer. So I used every single tactic in the book to not tactic. Like I don't really like urgency timers and all these fake things. I like things that are like help people understand the product and increase those things by value. So first off, you got the 1 minute ad, 2 minute ad at the most. But in those ads, it had like as this type of microcurrent has been seen in these articles in different places. So instantly adding both a visual appeal of like, hey, this has a real before and after. It actually does work. Credibility behind it, where you're instantly knowing this has been shown off of all sorts of different publications, both scientific and tabloid. And then immediately after that, you're being hit with a really long blog article, right? Which is called an advertorial in marketing. And
Mhm.
this Not a lot of people understand how to use this properly, but the way that we had used it was introducing the actual product as a new revolution, right? And slowly bringing them through why this thing is so revolutionary and all the science behind it, which most people think no one wants to read science, but when you show it with real results and real people behind it,
Mhm.
you know, they're willing to read a couple sentences of science and then compare it to how it actually works and functions. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of friction. You don't immediately go and you don't even see the price, right? So we're essentially
Mhm.
not showing them the price because it's high ticket, right? So you
Mhm.
want them to
Mhm.
really understand this product, why it works, why it's so legitimate. Then
Mhm.
you go through a whole nother page. And this is incredibly different than anything anyone has done on e-commerce. I very seldomly even see it in VSLs. But
Mhm.
instead of showing the price, once you get on the sales page, you have to scroll again through even more science and even more testimonials and more before and afters in order to get to the actual price, which is 75% of the way through the page. Now, most
Mhm.
people they put out on e-commerce the actual price immediately when you get onto that product description page, aka PDP page. I find that to be wrong for high ticket, especially if it's a product no one has ever heard of before. They don't really understand it, right?
Yep.
You want to actually guide them through this process so that they understand why the price is so high, right?
Mhm.
So they should see price anchoring, such as, if you go to the spa, it's going to cost you this much per month versus
Yep.
if you buy it one time from us. That instantly says, oh, this is a huge deal, even if there's no sale, right? I'm
Yep.
saving money just by buying this,
Mhm.
right? So once they have that understanding, then they can see the price is over $100, nearly $200. Make
Mhm.
sense? Okay.
Does make sense. Yeah. What was the price point roughly of this product?
Yeah, so,
Capsule.
so when we launched, we actually launched with multiple different prices. We launched ones actually the lower prices did not work as well as the higher prices. So
Okay.
we started at I think it was like 99, 119, 129, 139, 40, 59, whatever. It ended up being that $149 for this device was the sweet spot for it.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't start testing when they first go to market with something is they're immediately testing all of the playful ads and fun things, but you don't really
Right.
know what people are willing to buy until you've tested that, right? And that gives you a lot of margin on your product.
Yeah, and what's quite interesting, which is basically what you've said also, and I've seen that before myself. Um,
Mm,
my experience is not in e-commerce, but same thing. Like
yeah.
sometimes it happens that the cheaper price actually brings less clients than the more expensive price, which is kind of interesting. And of course, you can
Wow.
find all kind of explanations for it. I mean, it can't be good if it's that cheap or whatever type of thinking, right?
Mhm.
And some people who buy quality, they just think different, and if that's not matching up with the price. It depends on who your customer is. Or I don't know if your thinking is different there or your experience in e-commerce, but that's things that I
Yes.
have experienced before.
I'm actually a Reiki practitioner. My wife's a Reiki master. Do you know what this
Mhm.
is?
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
happen
like
to know what it
energy
is. Yeah.
work. Oh,
Yep.
cool. Yeah. So one of the theories on why they actually charge for Reiki now is people didn't value Reiki enough when they brought it to the United States. Whereas in Japan, they could teach it for free, where it was originally started. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there is a certain culture inside of the United States that more money equals more value to this thing. I absolutely agree. And it's just
Yep.
been proven over and over again. It's unfortunate just because it could mean less price things as far as a consumer goes, but it is what it is.
Yep. Quite
Yeah.
interesting. All right. So and then you said you also use upsells, right? But
Yeah.
the product that you've been talking about was just literally the first product that you have sold. So that was the initial product, and then you had upsells to this one as well. And
Yes.
before we go into the upsells, I'm not 100% sure if I understand what this product really did. Like what
Yeah.
did it solve? What problem?
Okay.
What issue? What health issue in this case? Probably.
Right. And I want to get into this later on some problems that we had had
Hmm.
in regards to customer service as we talked about because we went a little bit too hard with marketing at one
Oh,
point.
okay.
And yeah, this thing is called a microcurrent device. It has a lot of scientific backing. There are really huge brands that are working with that inside of this field. There's like Foreo, New Face, and several other brands I can't think off the top of my head. But they're the overall idea is that it's going to help increase your collagen inside of your skin, which makes your skin a little bit more plump, youthful, right? So helping reduce wrinkles, right? And also helping brighten up your skin a bit just by being a little bit more luminous, right? So I'm sure someone with a better science background could really explain how it actually works. It's been a couple of years since I read through all of it, but it's truly fascinating. It basically sends an electrical current into your skin, giving you a little bit of a zapping sensation, actually. What ends up happening is it stimulates your muscles, and in stimulating your muscles and your skin, it helps increase the blood flow, and it also increases the tone of your skin and your muscles, helping creating a lifting effect over time.
Interesting. Okay, so it makes you more beautiful in the end. Kind of
Classic
outcome.
beauty. Yeah, classic skincare.
All right. So then you were able to selling this, and then you had some upsells. Was it also the next thing that you did once you were at a million in revenue? Or did you have any issues also like, okay, now we've sold so many, but now we don't have any more in stocks, which would be a classic e-com problem, I guess?
Yes, that did happen later on once we got to that 25 area. That was a huge problem, which actually got me into becoming in addition to head of marketing, I also was the head of customer service for a span of 6 months when we were out of stock. So I have a whole story behind that.
Oh,
But
okay.
early
Yeah.
on when we're in that 1 million, it was selling a serum that goes along with it. And that
Okay.
allowed the product to reduce the tingling as well as increase. It was a niacinamide serum. This is a very popular serum type. Works with basically any skin. It's like a B vitamin. And when you put it on your skin, you do get some really great results off of anything from, having more hydration and less wrinkles, and as well better what's the word skin tone, so like less dark spots and things, which is great for the demographic we were hitting. Was an older demographic of women around 45-ish,
Yeah.
and that's all the things that they typically need from having years of sun beating down on their skin and chemicals on it, as well as
Interesting.
menopause. Yeah.
And you offered maybe plans as a recurring
we
it-
we weren't
we
smart enough
just
when we
ship
first
to you
started.
every
No,
3
it was a
months.
one-time purchase, actually.
Ah, okay,
At first.
interesting.
Had you been our advisor, we probably would have started with that. Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
one-time purchase, and what was the price point of that one then?
yeah, that was like an additional $30 per serum, which these
Okay.
things are very expensive. The margin on these are actually very, very good as well, where you're getting again 80% margins. So you're just stacking a lot
Mhm.
of money when you do these things. Yeah.
Okay, quite interesting. And after this, were there additional upsells or
Yeah.
what are they? Okay, yeah,
So
what else?
ClickFunnels, right? The
Yeah,
reason why we started on ClickFunnels instead of Shopify being a
yeah,
one product
one
brand.
click.
Yeah, exactly. Is you have the one click
Yep,
upsell, right? And
yep.
because you've been in info too, you know how important having a really long story and explaining the next product is. A lot of people in e-commerce, especially when they're really young, start with maybe Zipify or like one click upsells that have maybe a product and a short description and then a button. That's not enough to sell people on a new product, which is why I recommended we started with longer form information, especially
Mhm.
because this is a lot of novel information coming to these people. They don't like, as much as insiders know what niacinamide is, most people have no idea what the heck that is, even if they've been to Sephora or these Macy's or big shopping
Mhm.
malls, right? So every single page needed long form information as well as multiple different upsells. So one for the serum, one for the cleanser, one for the moisturizer, and
Mhm.
by stacking each of them together, it would really eke out a lot in terms of gains. The after effect of that, however, is that you've sold everything you have, so there's no LTV, right? Which is why later on we'll talk more about that.
Okay. Yep. Interesting. And like once you were at a million, like what was the next things that you actually did in order
Mm.
to get to the next stage? What was that next stage? And then how did you get to the next one all the way up to 25 million to understand that full journey of 2 years?
Yeah, yeah. A quick overview would be that because we started with like a one product store, we're not
Yep.
concerned with increasing the amount of products. We were actually increasing the amount of spend and
Mhm.
reinvesting all of the winnings back into the cycle of marketing. So it
Mhm.
was immediately getting a media buyer, right? A really strong media buyer, which, back then it wasn't, it was a lot harder to do media buying. It still is, but, you needed someone very sophisticated with that, as well as, a creative strategist who I'm still friends with both of them to this day. They were incredible, and they helped us get to that next $10 million mark within, the year. And that was insane, right? So we also got ahead of growth.
From 6 months, you were at 1 million. The next 6 months actually brought 9 million. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
So within the first 12 months, you made 8 figures, basically, already.
Yeah. It was really, really fast. It might have been a little bit longer than that, but my memory was that it was roughly around 6 months. Could have been 8. But yeah, there was a very, very quick lead up to that. And we're very fortunate that in that time as well, we had a lot of people in logistics that were helping make sure that this engine would run, because as you said, it can go out of stock really quickly. Once we got to around that 8-figure level, it was very necessary to get a really strong chief operating officer, right? So we got a VP of ops, and he's one of the biggest reasons that took us to the next 8 figures.
Interesting. Okay. And then basically you were at 10 million, and then what brought you to 25?
Yeah.
That was the chief operating officer, basically. And what did, or something else? And in case it was him, what did he do?
So he brought us into some really great deals with 3PLs, with shipping times. Instead of having to ship out of the EU and China and all these things, he helped us really get sophisticated, because we were really scrappy. We didn't know what we were doing. He helped us establish real operations inside of the United States, which allowed us to ship faster to people, have enough stock so that we could make more sales. And that just doubled everything that we were already doing. And he also was helping us a lot with proper onboarding of team members and HR and all those sort of things too, which if when you take care of your team, you get better results. So that was very, very helpful. During that time, not to overshadow marketing, there was still a lot of every quarter we were coming up with. We were always testing new angles of ads, but every quarter trying to figure out a new target market or a new target angle to focus on and expose in the market to create more wins. Because whatever you did in the first year is still not going to work in the second year. So we'd do that through creative, and we'd also do that through the advertorials, which it was part of my responsibility. We launched maybe 30 or 40 advertorials in the first 2 years for this product, and by the end of it, we had 3 advertorials, those blog articles, 4 advertorials that were each producing millions of dollars behind each of them. So most people stop at one advertorial to get one that works, and that doesn't give you enough results. I've found, because essentially, if you had a really great creative on one advertorial, you can duplicate that creative off the next advertorial, and now you have that double the amount of spend on that exact same creative. So that was another big unlock as far as getting more efficiency out of ad spend.
Yep. Wow, quite interesting. So and then once you hit like 25, there was an incident where you needed to handle customer support. What was that about? And it sounded like there's a ton of learnings that came out of that you're now also using in your work in order to maximize results, maybe even from day one.
Yes. I wish I had known about these at the time, right? And 100% right. It's, how can I put this? We had just launched a second product during that year, because the first product wasn't working quite as well. We had sold so many of them, and the second product we went through 3 or 4 more products and ended up with one more hero product. And that again had the same level of success as the first one, which is just incredible. And with the 2 of them combined, spending over time, that helped us get to that 25. The problem was we did not have enough in stock. Leadership wanted to keep spending on that without telling the customer. That's not smart, let's just say. So with doing that, we had to get better customer service so that we could quickly tell the person after having purchased. Now, I don't agree with that method at all. I was really pushing for, hey, pre-buy this thing, but you
Mm-hmm.
can only do so much in the company. Point is, we ended up having to let go of the first head of customer service because she was just no longer showing up. They did not have anybody else. The company
Oh,
was under duress with all of the refunds, and they actually
dude.
needed to lay me off at the time for half of my workload. And I was like, no, no, no. Let me be your head of marketing and your head of customer service. Came back, we were able to make it work. I scaled their customer service from 11 people to 55 in the
Mm-hmm.
next 6 months. Really insane growth, way too fast, should not be doing that much sales. And it was also during Black Friday, right? So not only was I doing marketing and I increased their AOV during Black Friday by $40,
Yeah.
which is, that's a huge margin in
Wow.
terms of, a $100 product, $150 product. $40 is
So
a lot, right?
for the non-e-commerce people, that's the average order value, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
correct
yes.
me if I'm wrong. I'm not e-commerce either, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Average order value. Yeah, exactly. So the average person was coming in, instead of buying $150, now they're buying $190 worth of product. That's a huge, it's a huge increase in margin. But a lot of people were getting, not getting their product on time. And I had really seen firsthand exactly how awful it was for the customer to, kind of like going back to my roots where people weren't getting delivered on their stock trades, now where
Mm-hmm.
they're not getting delivered on their product, which is exactly what I was trying to avoid. Put me in a really bad depressive state, but it made me really, really say, okay, well, this is my ethical line. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to work with this company anymore unless you change what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Really put the thumb on and pressure on them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when we started going and focusing more on customer respect. And we established as part of what I wanted was customer obsession, which was one of the main values and principles of the company. And that led us into a whole new trajectory and a whole new trajectory of marketing and how I saw respect for the customer and the employees that I had worked with. And that completely changed my foundation of how I think a business should run.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes total sense to me. So what did that do for the company? Having this customer obsession component in it.
Before having this, right, we sold to people without having it in stock and delayed
Yep.
them on that stock. Turns out the COO found out, had we not done that, we would have actually been profitable that quarter,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because we did it, we were actually negative,
Mm-hmm.
right? Crazy. So,
Mm-hmm.
already that proved that the alignment of, hey, if you treat your customer well, obviously you make more money, right? It's
Right.
pretty simple math that most
Yep.
people inherently know. But once we started detailing out what are the actual complaints people had even before this, we started handling those inside of the marketing as well, because we started getting really obsessed with what the customer is thinking about. So for example, the product had previously said, hey, it could work near your eyebrows, and which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But and one of the main marketing angles worked really, really well about the eyebrows, because that's one of the things that drew fastest in people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's painful because there's very little skin, fat, and muscle right here. So if you're getting an electrical pulse there, it's going to hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
People weren't aware of that, so we just modified some of the information and inside of the packaging, the marketing, the facts and questions, and as well the creative or the advertising. In just changing a little bit of that, it knocked the refund rate of this from a 10% of refunds being a problem and complain about this down to less than 1% of complaints doing that, meaning now our profit margin was therefore better just by changing some of the marketing. And as soon as
Yeah.
I saw that, it really completely changed my entire state of how I think about
Mm-hmm.
marketing,
Mm-hmm.
because most people are just thinking, get the conversion. But if you're not really in contact with who the customer is and how it's disturbing refunds and customer service,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Quite interesting also. I mean, why do you think the CEO of the company still was selling even though it was not on stock? I'm curious how you describe that.
I I think there was and I'm glad we're not saying the name of this company because I'd rather not
Yeah, yeah.
disparage them, but I think it's because they grew up in a state of um, they're a younger guy. And a lot of younger guys are hearing, oh, you got to make as much money as you can, and the revenue numbers are important, and it's sexy, and it's important, and you should buy a Lambo and, live this really cool dream of your life. And being surrounded by people like that, you're incentivized to just push for numbers.
Mhm.
Whereas, rechanging that around and going, okay, well, the numbers only come if you have customers. That's the second step that wasn't being pushed inside of the ethos that they were living in. So it's a little unfortunate, there's a lot of people out there like that. And yeah, I think there's a really big change coming in marketing that a lot of people aren't prepared for, but it's the most exciting part of marketing for me right now.
Mhm. Wow, quite
Do you,
interesting.
do you know what I'm referring to is the advertising spending is becoming more expensive than ever. So the margin on
Mhm.
advertising is, it's taking up more margin. So you're having less profit.
Yep.
What this means is that we are now in a state where we're going to be incentivized more and more to care about long-term value, LTV, right?
Yep.
In doing that, it's marrying the profit to the customer's need. And
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing. I'm really long on pretty much everything in life, politics, religion, marketing, whatever it is. Long term, as a society and as humans, we are figuring things out and making life more beautiful than ever. And it's
Mhm.
taken a long time to get here. We started in the Wild West with marketing where it was super easy. Anyone could spend anything, you could say anything you wanted. But now we're getting
Mhm.
to a phase where that's just not going to work anymore. And it has to work for the customer in order for you
Mhm.
to make money. Or you can
If you-
scam them, but eventually you'll get caught up with.
Yeah, I agree. If you want to call it karma or whatever, it pays in the long term to
Mhm.
do the right thing.
Absolutely. I I totally believe in karma because the people that I had left behind are suffering more than ever as they are less and less concerned with their customer. Yeah. So I'd seen that internally, just hearing from other people I'd previously worked with. I won't get into the nitty gritty details, but it is true. As much as you might hear people doing good on the surface, you never hear about how bad they're doing in reality.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be curious, like before I ask you the last question for this episode and that we're doing right now, if there's somebody who has an e-commerce business, right, and needs somebody who knows exactly how to scale that thing, like you have done many, many times before, and you collected all that experience, what would be the best ways to get in touch with you?
Oh yeah. So LinkedIn, I'm Paul Leeds. I've got red hair and a red beard. It's pretty easy to spot me on the list. So yeah, Paul Leeds, or you can go on my website's leedsdoctor.com. LEEDS doctor.com. And I do have a free diagnostic booking. So if you wanted to get in touch with me and get like a legitimate 30-minute call where I help you diagnose what your number one bottleneck is inside of your business and what strategy would actually get you the fix, with or
Mhm.
without me working in it, I'm more than happy to do that just because I love helping other people. And I know, like we said, karma, it works both ways. You got dharma, where if you help somebody out, not just in reciprocity, but in respect from the universe, you get back from it too. So I'm always eager to help other people out with their situation. So you can just go book on my website, leedsdoctor.com.
Yeah, sounds great. We're gonna link that also in the show notes, so it's just a simple click away to get in
Thanks.
touch with you. Paul, last question. Like all of those learnings that you have collected and that you have also talked about right now, like how would you implement them from day one once you're starting with a new ecom project, new partners?
Wow, that's a big question. um, I do you mind if I reframe the question? Because there's something we talked about before the call actually started, which we haven't
Hmm.
touched on, but it does answer that question.
Hmm.
In the same way that you should be focusing on what the customer's needs actually are, because you're incentivizing the market to have longer term value,
Hmm.
figure out what that actually means for the customer as soon as possible, because the more and longer term you can sell them, the healthier business is.
Hmm.
Uh, Conversely, I believe that there's LTV internally inside of your team, and I've seen this work out. I've helped people triple their actual the salary that they're making within companies by just providing more value inside of the company. In the
Hmm.
same way, a lot of people aren't surveying their customers; they're also not surveying the people they work with. And if you can marry what the customer wants, and you can marry what your internal team actually wants,
Hmm.
and you align those with your business goals, not only will you have greater value inside of your bank account, your customers are going to love you. You're going to get more reviews, as well as your team members are going to stay longer. They're going to be incentivized to work longer hours and harder. And yeah, you might have paid them a little bit more money than you did last year, but all the studies show if you lay somebody off, it takes 2 times their salary to hire somebody on just like them. So you're actually incentivized to pay that person more money year over year, but only if they know how to get to that place. And which means find out what their goals are and align that with your business goals, and the two of you are going to win together. So if the sooner you can implement those things, the better your business is going to be. And I think that's the first place you start from day one. And after that, if you just let people run with it, they'll probably do an amazing job for you.
Absolutely love it. Couldn't agree more. Paul, really appreciate you taking the time to hop on the podcast. Thanks so much. See you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, brother.
Go to rockandrollyourdreams.com/podcast.